What was the darkest thing you have ever seen on Reddit? A couple in the UK that wound up killing the man's son, Arthur. There is video of the poor kid sleeping on the floor, waking up in the middle of the night and struggling just to get his cover off of him. Then audio of him yelling "nobody is going to feed me" over and over, and finally "nobody loves me" just hours before he was killed. I don't know why I clicked on that story. I don't know why I decided to watch and listen. It's been 4 or 5 months and I cannot get it out of my head. Every fiber of my being wanted to just reach through the screen and give him a hug and to never let him feel that hatred again. R.I.P. Arthur. The guy in France who fell out of his apartment window and was impaled on a concrete pole. He sat there with that pole up inside him, slowly squirming and dying. Absolutely horrifying and totally shocking. A little girl who fell out of a window. Her skull opened up and her brain was just sitting on the ground. Her parents were there. Never use the random NSFW button on my Reddit viewer again. There was actually a kid in my middle school that was crushed by an elevator. He went looking for his hamster around his house and somehow made his way in the elevator shaft looking for it. One of his parents hit the button before he could get out. I didn't realize what it was before it was too late. No explicit gore or close-up imagery, but it was a bunch of teenagers running crying through a corridor, and out into the open. It was the aftermath of one of the big school shootings. They were running past dead classmates. It was horrendous. I have bipolar disorder and frequent the subreddits for it. One time, a guy posted repeatedly about feeling suicidal and hopeless. I interacted with the posts, many did, and messaged him a few times. A few weeks later, he posted that he had attempted suicide and failed. Then he just stopped posting. Never saw another post from the account. I can only assume what happened, but it still makes me sad. Jason in hell. Dude's wife had been cheating with the neighbor and was remorseless about it. He asks for advice on Reddit, and decides it is for the best to get a divorce. So he breaks the news to her. They had 2 young kids. Because his wife's reaction was to slaughter them, before stabbing herself. She didn't die and got a prison sentence. 2 young children around the age of 10 to 13 and they were cousins. They were at a family birthday party in a room playing around on Instagram Live with a family member's gun that was left out in the open. The girl poses for a picture with her male cousin and holds the gun up to his head playing around. The gun accidentally goes off and her cousin drops to the floor and you see the shock and panic in her face. She goes to grab the gun again, I'm sure out of instinct, and the gun accidentally goes off again and you see her slump to the floor as well. You hear screaming in the background and family members forcing their way through the door that's being held shut by their bodies. One by one about 6 family members open the door, look down, then close the door screaming. Everyone is freaking out and they notice the camera was still on Instagram Live. Both children died and it was so tragic to see. Guerrero flaying. To sum it up, it's a narco torture video. Narcos are the closest thing to evil I think exists. BTW. There's a dad and his son being tortured. Son looks 12-13. The dad was possibly a cop or a narc or a rival gang member. Dad is tortured and beheaded while his son watches. Son is then forced on top of his dad's decapitated body and is tortured. They start to open up his chest cavity while he's alive and screaming with knives. Some organs start to fall out and they shove him back in. They cut out his heart while he's still alive and show it to him. He dies around then, so who knows what he was conscious for. Keep in mind this is a 12-13-year-old kid who did nothing. They send body parts back to the mom/wife after the video. Likely the head and or heart of son and dad. It's likely the mom was tortured and killed after too. The audio tape from the Jonestown massacre. I thought it was going to be the speech he made to convince them to drink the Kool-Aid. But the tape had audio of the children screaming in pain and him saying they're crying because it tastes bad. Cyanide is one of the most painful ways to go. And hearing all those children and babies scream and cry is seared into my brain. I wish I never listened to it.